The stars shimmered like tiny diamonds scattered across an endless black canvas. In the quiet of space, where silence reigned supreme, a faint signal broke through the void. It was weak, almost lost among the cosmic noise, but it carried a message. That would change everything. The signal came from far beyond the edges of human exploration, from a distant star system orbiting a dying red giant. It wasn't just any signal, it was a distress call, back on Earth. Inside the control room of the Alpha Centauri outpost, Captain Ryan Dawson sat at his desk aboard the cruiser SS Endeavour. He had been reviewing reports when the alert flashed across his screen. His eyes narrowed as he leaned closer to read the decoded message. The words were simple. "Help us. They are coming." There was no signature, no clue about who had sent it or why. Only coordinates pointing to a planet circling a dimming sun. Ryan sighed deeply and ran a hand over his face. He had seen many strange things during his years in space, but something about this felt different. This wasn't just another routine mission. Whatever was happening out there, it was big and dangerous. At the same time, light years away on Earth, Admiral Lavra Hez stood in front of a large holographic display in the United Nations Space Command headquarters. Around her, scientists, military officers, and government officials gathered, their faces tense with concern. Among them was Lieutenant Daniel Brooks, a young astrophysicist known for his sharp mind and calm demeanor. Daniel stared at the blinking dot on the map, his brow furrowed in thought. "We don't know much," Lavra began, addressing the group. Her voice was firm but carried a hint of unease. "Whoever sent this message is clearly in trouble. But we also don't know if this is a trap. We've encountered hostile species before, and not all aliens are friendly." Daniel nodded slowly. "It's possible they're trying to lure us into something. But it's also possible they really need help. If we ignore this, we might miss a chance to make allies, or worse, we could let some kind of threat grow unchecked." The room buzzed with murmurs as people debated what to do. Some argued for caution, saying humanity shouldn't risk its resources for an unknown cause. Others insisted they had a duty to respond, especially since the message specifically asked for help. After hours of discussion, Admiral Hayes made her decision. A war fleet would be sent to investigate, and leading that fleet would be Captain Ryan Dawson. When Ryan received the order, he didn't hesitate. He called together his crew to prepare for the mission. Emily Carter, one of the best pilots in the fleet, immediately began running simulations with her squadron. Marcus Klein, the ship's lead engineer, double-checked every system to ensure they were ready for anything. Dr. Olivia Grant, the medical officer, stocked up on supplies and reviewed emergency protocols. Everyone knew this wasn't going to be easy, but none of them questioned the importance of their task. As the days passed, the mood aboard the SS Endeavour grew heavier. The crew worked tirelessly, but there was a shared sense of unease. They were heading into uncharted territory, toward a signal that offered more questions than answers. Was it a cry for help, a warning, or something else entirely? Finally, the day came for the fleet to depart. The ships lined up in formation, their sleek hulls gleaming under the artificial lights of the outpost. Ryan stood on the bridge, watching as the countdown ticked away. His heart pounded in his chest, though he kept his expression calm. He glanced at Emily, who gave him a reassuring nod, and then at Marcus, who was already checking readings on his console. Behind them, Olivia adjusted her glasses and took a deep breath. "Engage hyperdrive," Ryan ordered. With a low hum, the engines roared to life, and the fleet shot forward, disappearing into the vastness of space. For weeks, they traveled through the emptiness, passing by swirling nebulae and distant stars. Time seemed to stretch endlessly, each moment filled with anticipation and uncertainty. Daniel spent most of his time analyzing the signal, searching for any hidden meanings or patterns. He found nothing new, but the mystery only deepened his determination to uncover the truth. Then, one morning, the destination appeared on the horizon. The planet loomed ahead, bathed in the faint glow of its dying sun. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Its surface sparkled with crystalline formations that shifted colors in the dim light. Orbiting the planet was a massive alien vessel, dark and silent, its jagged silhouette casting long shadows against the sky. "This doesn't look good," Emily said, breaking the silence on the coms. Her voice was steady, but there was a note of apprehension in her tone. Ryan studied the scene carefully. "Stay alert. We don't know what we're dealing with yet." Before they could move closer, another transmission came through, not from the planet, but from the alien ship. This time, there were no words, only a series of haunting tones that echoed through the bridge. The sound sent shivers down everyone's spines. Daniel listened closely, his fingers flying over his keyboard as he tried to decode the message. "It's not random," he said after a moment. "It's a warning." Before anyone could react, the alien ship began moving, its weapons powered up, glowing with an ominous energy. Ryan's jaw tightened as he gripped the edge of his chair. "All hands, prepare for battle," he said firmly. No one spoke, no one needed to. They all knew what was coming next. The fleet braced itself as the alien ship moved closer, its weapons glowing brighter with every passing second. On the bridge of the SS Endeavour, Captain Ryan Dawson gripped the armrests of his chair, his eyes fixed on the massive vessel. "Shields up," he ordered sharply. His voice was calm but carried the weight of authority that left no room for hesitation. Emily Carter, seated at her console nearby, tapped commands into her interface. She coordinated with her squadron of fighter pilots, ensuring everyone was ready for whatever came next. Marcus Klein, stationed at the engineering panel, worked furiously to stabilize the ship's power systems. The hum of the engines grew louder. As the crew prepared for battle, Dr. Olivia Grant stood by silently, clutching a medical kit. Though she wasn't trained for combat, she knew her role would become critical if things went wrong. Then it happened. The alien ship fired first, unleashing a barrage of plasma bolts that streaked across space like fiery arrows. The SS Endeavour rocked violently as one bolt struck its shields, sending sparks flying across the bridge. Alarms blared, and the crew scrambled to respond. Emily's voice crackled over the coms as she directed her squadron to break formation and engage the enemy. Her fighters darted through the chaos, weaving between the blasts and returning fire with precision. Ryan barked orders, his voice cutting through the noise. "Marcus, divert all available power to the shields. Emily, keep them off our tail." He turned to Daniel Brooks, who sat at a workstation analyzing the enemy's movements. "Anything useful?" Daniel shook his head, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "Their technology is advanced. I can't find a pattern yet, but their targeting seems deliberate, like they're testing us." The situation worsened as more alien ships emerged from behind the jagged vessel. They surrounded the human fleet, firing relentlessly. Explosions lit up the void as smaller ships were hit and destroyed. Panic began to creep into the voices of the crew members over the coms. But Ryan remained steady, his focus unwavering. "We hold the line," he said firmly. "We don't retreat." Just when it seemed like the battle might be lost, something unexpected occurred. Sleek, silver ships appeared out of nowhere, emerging from behind the distant planet. Their arrival was sudden and dramatic, catching both the alien attackers and the human fleet off guard. These new ships moved with incredible speed and precision, firing upon the invaders with devastating accuracy. Within moments, the tide of the battle shifted. The alien ships faltered under the assault. Their formations breaking apart, one of the silver ships broke away from the fight and approached the SS Endeavour. A communication signal came through, this time not in tones or static, but in clear, telepathic words that resonated in everyone's minds. "You are not alone," the voice said. It was calm and measured, carrying an air of authority. "We have been watching. You fought bravely, but you cannot win this fight alone." Ryan exchanged glances with his crew. No one spoke, unsure of what to make of this new development. Finally, he leaned forward and activated the coms. "Who are you?" he asked cautiously. "We are the Arendorians," the voice replied. "This is our home. Those you face are conquerors, destroyers of worlds. They seek to drain our planet of its energy, leaving nothing behind. Your arrival gave us the opportunity to strike back." Ryan frowned. Why did you call us? Why ask for help now? There was a pause before the voice responded. Because we saw hope in your people. Hope and courage. You do not fight only for yourselves, you fight for others. That is why we believed you could aid us. The explanation didn't fully ease Ryan's concerns, but there was no time to dwell on it. The remaining alien ships were retreating, fleeing into deep space. The battle was over for now. The Arendorian ships regrouped around the human fleet, their sleek designs gleaming in the faint light of the dying star dot as the immediate danger passed. The crew of the SS Endeavour took stock of the damage. Several smaller ships had been lost, and the main vessel had suffered significant wear to its hull and systems. Marcus worked tirelessly to assess the repairs needed while Olivia tended to the wounded. Emily joined Ryan on the bridge, her expression grim but resolute. "They saved us," she said, glancing at the Arendorian ships outside. "But I don't trust them," Ryan nodded. "Neither do I, not completely. But we owe them answers. Maybe even gratitude. For now, we'll play along and see where this leads." Over the next few hours, the humans established contact with the Arendorians. Their leader, a being named Kale, communicated telepathically, explaining their history and the nature of the threat they faced. According to Kale, the invaders had been attacking planets across the galaxy for centuries, consuming their resources until they were barren wastelands. Arender had resisted longer than most, thanks to its unique crystalline structures that generated vast amounts of energy. But even their defenses were failing, and without help, they would eventually fall. Kale's presence was imposing yet strangely comforting. His form was humanoid, though taller and more slender than any human. His skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the ambient light, and his eyes glowed with an inner luminescence. Despite his alien appearance, there was a warmth to him that put the humans at ease, or at least as much ease as they could manage given the circumstances. While Ryan and Kale discussed strategy, Daniel delved deeper into the data collected during the battle. He worked alongside Arendorian scientists, marveling at their advanced technology. Together, they pieced together fragments of information about the invaders. What they discovered was chilling. The invaders weren't just mindless conquerors. They were part of a hive-like collective, driven by an insatiable need to harvest energy to sustain themselves. Entire civilizations had been wiped out by their relentless hunger. "They're not going to stop," Daniel told Ryan later. "If we defeat them here, they'll just come back stronger or go after another planet, maybe even Earth." Ryan clenched his jaw. "Then we make sure they don't leave here alive?" Preparations for the next phase began immediately. The humans and Arendorians worked side by side, combining their strengths to fortify the planet's defenses. Marcus collaborated closely with Arendorian engineers, adapting human weaponry to integrate with their systems. Emily trained with Syrah, one of the Arendorian pilots, learning new tactics and maneuvers to counter the invaders' superior numbers. Meanwhile, Olivia spent time treating injured Arendorians, gaining insight into their biology and culture. She found them fascinating, resilient, and resourceful, yet deeply compassionate. Despite the growing alliance, tensions simmered within the human fleet. Some crew members questioned whether they should involve themselves in a conflict so far from home. Others worried about the invaders returning with greater force. Rumors spread among the ranks, fueling unease. Even Ryan felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He knew the stakes were higher than ever, not just for Arender but for humanity itself. Admiral Lavra Hayes, monitoring the situation remotely from Earth, shared Ryan's concerns. She authorized additional reinforcements, ensuring the fleet would have the resources needed to face whatever came next. Supplies and personnel arrived via hyperspace transport, bolstering the human contingent. With each passing day, the combined forces of humans and Arendorians grew stronger, more unified, yet the invaders loomed large in everyone's minds. They hadn't been defeated, they had retreated. And when they returned, it would be with a vengeance. For now, though, there was a fragile peace. The humans and Arendorians shared stories, meals, and moments of quiet camaraderie. Bonds formed between species that had never met before, built on mutual respect and shared purpose. Ryan found himself drawn to Kale, whose wisdom and determination inspired admiration. Emily developed a close friendship with Syrah, bonding over their shared love of flight and adventure. Even Marcus, usually reserved and focused on his work, found joy in collaborating with the Arendorian engineers, but beneath the surface, the looming threat remained. The invaders would return, and when they did, the humans and Arendorians would need to be ready. For now, they prepared, trained, and waited. The galaxy held its breath, knowing that the outcome of this conflict would shape the future of countless worlds, including Earth. The days that followed were a blur of activity. The humans and Arendorians worked tirelessly to prepare for the inevitable return of the invaders. Every moment was precious, and no one dared to waste time. On the SS Endeavour, Captain Ryan Dawson oversaw operations with a mix of urgency and caution. He knew the next battle would be bigger, harder, and more dangerous than the last. If they failed, it wouldn't just mean the loss of Arendar, it could spell doom for humanity as well. Marcus Klein spent most of his time in the engineering bay, surrounded by both human and Arendorian technicians. The Arendorians had shared their advanced technology freely, and Marcus marveled at how seamlessly it integrated with human systems. Together, they modified the fleet's weapons to emit pulses of energy capable of disrupting the invaders' shields. It was risky work, requiring precise calculations and constant testing, but Marcus didn't complain. He found the Arendorians easy to work with, efficient, intelligent, and deeply committed to the cause. One of the Arendorian engineers, a tall, slender being named Lyra, became Marcus's closest collaborator. Her knowledge of energy dynamics was unmatched, and she taught him things about power systems that he had never imagined. In return, Marcus introduced her to some of humanity's more practical engineering solutions. By the end of each day, they had made significant progress, though neither of them rested until they were certain the upgrades would hold up in battle. Meanwhile, Emily Carter trained relentlessly with Syrah, the Arendorian pilot who had saved her squadron during the first encounter. Syrah was unlike any instructor Emily had ever had. Her flying style was aggressive yet calculated, pushing Emily to her limits. They practiced evasive maneuvers, precision targeting, and coordinated attacks until Emily felt like her reflexes had improved tenfold. At first, Emily had been hesitant to trust Syrah, but over time they developed a bond rooted in mutual respect. Syrah admired Emily's determination, while Emily respected Syrah's skill and bravery. "You're getting better," Syrah said one evening after a particularly grueling session. Her voice carried a hint of pride. "But remember, the invaders will not fight fair. You must always be ready." Emily nodded, wiping sweat from her brow. "I know, and thanks for everything." On the medical front, Dr. Olivia Grant immersed herself in learning about Arendorian physiology. Their biology was fascinatingly different from humans, relying on bioelectric currents rather than traditional circulatory systems. Olivia spent hours studying their anatomy and adapting human medical tools to treat their injuries. She also worked closely with Kale, who often visited the infirmary to check on wounded soldiers. Through these interactions, Olivia gained a deeper understanding of the Arendorians' culture and values. "They're fighters," Olivia told Ryan one night as they reviewed reports in the ship's briefing room. "But they're also healers. They value life in a way that's hard to put into words." Ryan listened intently, nodding slowly. "That's good to hear. We'll need all the strength we can get." While the crew focused on preparations, Lieutenant Daniel Brooks continued his research into the invaders. He pored over data collected during the previous battle, searching for patterns or weaknesses. With help from Arendorian scientists, he uncovered fragments of information about the invaders' hive-like collective. Their ships operated as extensions of a single consciousness, making them highly efficient but also vulnerable to disruption. If the central command structure could be targeted, the entire fleet might collapse. "This is our best shot," Daniel explained to Ryan during a private meeting. "If we can isolate the signal controlling their ships, we can disable them all at once." Ryan frowned, considering the implications. "How do we find it?" Daniel hesitated before answering. "We'll need to get close. closer than anyone would like. Though the plan was risky, Ryan agreed it was worth pursuing. He called a meeting with his senior officers and Kale to discuss the strategy. The mood in the room was tense but determined. Everyone understood the stakes, and no one shied away from the challenges ahead. "We'll divide our forces," Ryan proposed. "Emily and her squadron will draw their attention while Marcus and the engineers focus on disabling key systems. Daniel will lead a team to locate the command signal. Once we have it, we strike." Kale nodded approvingly. "A sound plan. My people will support you fully." As the meeting concluded, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling of unease that lingered in the back of his mind. The invaders were powerful, relentless, and seemingly unstoppable. But he reminded himself why they were here to protect, not just Arendar, but the future of humanity. Failure wasn't an option. The days turned into weeks, and the sense of impending doom grew stronger. Scouts reported increased activity near the edges of the star system, suggesting the invaders were regrouping. Morale among the human crew wavered at times, but Ryan did his best to keep spirits high. He visited the mess hall, joined training sessions, and spoke personally with every member of his team. His presence alone seemed to inspire confidence. Even in the darkest moments, one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon of Arendar, casting the planet in shades of crimson and gold, Ryan stood on the observation deck of the SS Endeavour. He gazed out at the shimmering crystalline structures scattered across the surface below. They pulsed faintly with energy, a reminder of what was at stake. Behind him, Kale approached silently, his glowing eyes reflecting the dim light. "You are troubled," Kale said softly. Ryan sighed, turning to face him. "This isn't just about winning a battle. It's about protecting people, your people, my people, if we fail." Kale placed a hand on Ryan's shoulder, his touch surprisingly warm. "You carry a great burden, but you are not alone. Together, we will prevail." Ryan nodded, drawing strength from Kale's words. For all their differences, the two leaders shared a common goal: survival. And in that unity, Ryan found hope. When the invaders finally returned, they came with overwhelming force. Dozens of ships filled the sky, their jagged forms blotting out the light of the dying star. The human and Arendorian fleets scrambled to meet them, their combined numbers dwarfed by the enemy armada. As the first shots rang out, chaos erupted. Across the battlefield, Emily led her squadron into the fray, weaving between enemy ships with breathtaking speed. She fired volley after volley, taking out smaller vessels while luring larger ones toward Marcus's position. Meanwhile, Marcus and his team worked frantically to deploy the energy disruptors, aiming to weaken the invaders' shields. Explosions lit up the void as ships on both sides were destroyed. Debris spiraling into the darkness. Amidst the chaos, Daniel led a small team aboard a stealth shuttle, slipping past the enemy lines undetected. Their mission was perilous, requiring them to locate the source of the command signal. Using scanners and intuition, they traced the signal to a massive flagship at the heart of the invaders' formation. The ship was heavily guarded, its defenses impenetrable. "We'll only get one chance," Daniel whispered to his team as they prepared to board the vessel. "Stay sharp." Back on the SS Endeavour, Ryan coordinated the overall assault, his voice steady despite the turmoil around him. "Marcus, status report. Disruptors online." Marcus replied, sweat dripping down his face. "Firing now." Pulse of energy surged through space, striking the invaders' ships. Their shields flickered and faltered, giving the Allied forces a brief advantage. Seizing the opportunity, Emily launched a daring attack on the flagship, drawing its fire away from Daniel's team. Inside the flagship, Daniel and his crew fought their way through corridors filled with drones and automated defenses. Each step brought them closer to their objective, but the cost was high. One by one, members of the team fell, leaving Daniel and a single Arendorian soldier to complete the mission. Finally, they reached the control chamber where a pulsating orb emitted the command signal. Without hesitation, Daniel activated the device designed to overload the signal. Alarms blared as the orb began to destabilize, sending shockwaves throughout the ship. "We need to go now." The Arendorian shouted. Daniel hesitated for a split second, then turned and ran. Behind them, the flagship imploded, triggering a chain reaction that rippled through the invaders' fleet. Ships exploded in rapid succession, their hulks drifting lifelessly in space on the bridge of the SS Endeavour. Ryan watched as the tide of the battle turned decisively in their favor. Cheers erupted across the fleet, but Ryan remained silent, his thoughts heavy with the sacrifices made. When the dust settled, the survivors gathered to honor those who had fallen. Cale approached Ryan, his expression solemn yet grateful. "You have saved us," he said. "And in doing so, you have given us hope for the future." Ryan nodded, knowing the victory was bittersweet. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, but for now they had won. And in that triumph, humanity had proven itself worthy of trust and alliance. The aftermath of the battle left the combined forces of humans and Arendorians in a state of cautious relief. The invaders' fleet had been destroyed, their command structure shattered beyond repair. For the first time in years, the skies above Arendor were clear of immediate danger. But no one dared to celebrate just yet. The cost of victory weighed heavily on everyone's minds. On the SS Endeavour, Captain Ryan Dawson stood on the bridge, staring out at the wreckage drifting silently in space. His hands rested on the railing, fingers gripping it tightly as he processed the events of the past hours. The crew moved around him quietly, tending to repairs and assessing damage. Some spoke in hushed tones, while others worked in silence, their faces pale with exhaustion. Ryan knew they had fought bravely, but bravery alone didn't erase the losses. Too many good people had died. Dr. Olivia Grant emerged from the medical bay, her scrubs stained with blood. She looked as tired as Ryan felt, her usually calm demeanor replaced by a haunted expression. "We did what we could," she said softly, stopping beside him, "but too many didn't make it." Ryan nodded, his voice low. "We all paid a price today, but if we hadn't acted, it would have been worse." Olivia sighed, leaning against the railing. "Do you think this is over? Really over?" Ryan hesitated before answering. He wanted to believe that the threat was gone for good, but something deep inside told him otherwise. The invaders had been relentless, driven by a hunger that seemed insatiable. Destroying their fleet might have bought time, but it wasn't a permanent solution. Still, he forced a small smile. "For now, it's enough. We'll deal with whatever comes next when it gets here." Meanwhile, Marcus Klein worked alongside Lyra and the other engineers to repair the damaged ships. The human fleet had taken heavy hits during the battle, and several vessels were barely holding together. Marcus moved between consoles, running diagnostics and issuing orders to his team. Despite his fatigue, he couldn't afford to slow down. Every second counted if they were going to be ready for another attack. Lyra stayed close to him, her movements graceful and efficient. She handed him tools without being asked, anticipating his needs before he even voiced them. Over the course of their collaboration, the two had developed an unspoken understanding. They communicated through gestures and glances, their shared focus creating a bond that transcended language. "You're quiet today," Lyra observed as they paused briefly to review a schematic. Marcus glanced at her, offering a weak smile. "Just thinking about how much we lost, and wondering if it was worth it." "It was," Lyra replied firmly. "Every life saved because of your actions matters, even if it doesn't feel like enough right now." Her words struck a chord with Marcus, reminding him why they had come here in the first place. He nodded, pushing aside his doubts, and returned to work. Together, they tackled the repairs with renewed determination. Emily Carter sat alone in the cockpit of her fighter, staring at the stars outside. Her helmet rested on the seat beside her, and her uniform was streaked with soot and sweat. The adrenaline rush of battle had faded, leaving behind a hollow ache. She replayed the events in her mind, the dogfights, the explosions, the moments. When she thought she wouldn't make it back alive, a soft knock on the hatch startled her. She turned to see Sierra standing there, her glowing eyes filled with concern. "You okay?" Sierra asked, stepping inside. Emily shrugged, avoiding eye contact. "I don't know. I keep seeing their faces, the ones who didn't make it." "Sierra." placed a hand on Emily's shoulder, her touch surprisingly comforting. They knew the risks, and they gave everything so the rest of us could live? That's not something you forget, but it's also not something you let destroy you? Emily looked up, meeting Sierra's gaze. How do you do it? How do you keep fighting after losing so much? Sierra smiled faintly. Because giving up means letting them win. And I won't let that happen, not for my people, and not for yours. Her words resonated with Emily, reigniting the fire within her. She nodded slowly, feeling a spark of resolve return. Thanks, Sierra. I needed to hear. Back on Arender, Kale addressed his people, standing atop a crystalline platform that overlooked the planet's shimmering landscape. The survivors gathered below, their expressions a mix of grief and hope. Kale spoke calmly, his telepathic voice reaching every corner of the crowd. We have endured much, he began. Our homes have been scarred, our families torn apart. But today, we stand united, not just as Arendorians, but alongside our new allies from Earth. Together, we have shown that even the darkest storms can be weathered. His words brought murmurs of agreement from the crowd. Many bowed their heads in respect, while others raised their fists in defiance. Kale continued, his tone growing firmer. This victory is not the end, it is a beginning. We must rebuild, strengthen our defenses, and prepare for whatever may come. For though the invaders are gone, their kind does not forgive or forget. One day they may return. As the speech concluded, Ryan approached Kale, accompanied by Daniel Brooks. They had spent the previous hours analyzing the data recovered from the invaders' flagship, piecing together fragments of information about their origins and motives. What they discovered was chilling. They're part of something bigger, Daniel explained, showing Kale a holographic map. A network spanning multiple star systems. Wherever they go, destruction follows. If we don't stop them completely, they'll keep spreading. Kale studied the map carefully, his glowing eyes narrowing. Then we must act quickly. Humanity has shown courage and ingenuity. With your help, we can track them to their source and end this threat once and for all. Ryan nodded, though his expression remained grim. It won't be easy, but if we work together, we might have a chance. In the days that followed, the humans and Arendorians collaborated more closely than ever. Marcus and Lyra finalized the upgrades to the fleet's weapons, ensuring they were prepared for future battles. Emily led training exercises with Sierra, teaching both human and Arendorian pilots advanced combat techniques. Olivia worked tirelessly to treat the wounded, using her newfound knowledge of Arendorian biology to save lives that would have otherwise been lost. Daniel, meanwhile, pored over the remaining data, searching for clues about the invaders' homeworld. He believed that finding their origin point was key to preventing another invasion. With Kale's support, he assembled a team to analyze the information further. Each discovery brought them closer to uncovering the truth, but it also highlighted the enormity of the task ahead. Despite the challenges, morale among the combined forces began to improve. Bonds formed between humans and Arendorians, built on mutual respect and shared purpose. Meals were shared, stories exchanged, and laughter echoed through the corridors of the SS Endeavor. Even Ryan allowed himself moments of respite, joining his crew for meals and listening to their conversations. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon of Arender, casting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Ryan found himself standing beside Kale once again. The two leaders watched as the crystalline structures on the planet's surface pulsed faintly with light, a reminder of the resilience of the Arendorian people. You've changed us, Kale said suddenly, breaking the silence. Before you came, we fought only to survive. Now we fight for something greater, for unity, for peace. Ryan shook his head modestly. We're learning from you, too. You've taught us the value of hope, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Kale smiled, his glow softening. Then perhaps this alliance will endure long after the invaders are gone. Perhaps it will inspire others to join us. Ryan nodded, feeling a sense of purpose settle over him. The road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time, he truly believed they could succeed, not just in defeating the invaders, but in forging a brighter future for both their peoples. As the stars emerged one by one in the night sky, Ryan and Kale stood side by side, united in their determination to protect what mattered most. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, but together, they had proven that even the smallest acts of courage could change its course forever. The final preparations were underway. The human fleet and the Arendorians had spent weeks repairing ships, refining strategies, and gathering intelligence about the invaders' homeworld. Every moment was filled with urgency, knowing that time was not on their side. Captain Ryan Dawson stood on the bridge of the SS Endeavour, watching as the last of the supplies were loaded onto the ships. His mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead: the journey to the invaders' origin point, the battles they would face, and the lives that hung in the balance. Daniel Brooks approached him, holding a tablet displaying the latest data. "We've narrowed it down," he said, his voice steady but tinged with excitement. "Their homeworld is located deep in uncharted space. It's heavily fortified, but if we can disable their central hive structure, we might be able to collapse their entire network." Ryan studied the map carefully. The location was far from Arendor, requiring a perilous journey through asteroid fields and unstable star systems. But there was no other choice. If they wanted to end the threat once and for all, they had to strike at the heart of the invaders. "Empire, are we ready?" Ryan asked, glancing at Daniel. "As ready as we'll ever be," Daniel replied. "But this isn't just about firepower. We need precision and luck," Ryan nodded, turning to address the crew. "Everyone, listen up. This mission is dangerous, and I won't lie to you, it's going to test us like never before. But remember why we're here. We're fighting not just for ourselves, but for everyone who came before us and everyone who will come after. Let's make them proud." The crew responded with determined nods and murmurs of agreement. Emily Carter adjusted her gloves, her expression resolute. Marcus Klein double-checked the ship's systems one last time, ensuring everything was functioning perfectly. Dr. Olivia Grant stocked the medical bay with extra supplies, knowing the injuries they would face could be severe. Each member of the team carried the weight of responsibility, but also the hope of victory. The journey to the invaders' homeworld was long and treacherous. The fleet navigated through dense asteroid belts, dodging collisions and scanning for hidden threats. Along the way, they encountered remnants of the invaders' forces, scattered ships and drones left behind after the earlier battle. Emily led her squadron in skirmishes against these stragglers, clearing the path for the main fleet. Her skills had improved dramatically under Sierra's guidance, and she now commanded her pilots with confidence and precision. As they traveled deeper into uncharted space, the crew began to notice strange phenomena. Gravitational anomalies pulled at their ships, forcing Marcus and the engineers to constantly recalibrate the engines. Strange energy readings flickered across the sensors, hinting at unknown dangers lurking nearby. The tension aboard the SS Endeavour grew palpable, but no one voiced their fears. They trusted Ryan to lead them safely to their destination. Finally, after weeks of travel, the invaders' homeworld came into view. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a massive planet surrounded by a sprawling network of interconnected structures that pulsed with dark energy. Orbiting the planet were countless ships, forming a defensive perimeter that seemed impenetrable. The sight sent a chill through the crew, but Ryan remained calm. "This is it," he said over the comms. "Stick to the plan. Emily, your squadron will create a diversion. Marcus, get those disruptors online. Daniel, guide us to the hive structure. Let's finish this." Emily's fighters surged forward, drawing the attention of the enemy fleet. Their small, agile ships darted between the larger vessels, firing relentlessly to keep the invaders occupied. Explosions lit up the void as the aliens retaliated, their weapons tearing through space. Despite the chaos, Emily stayed focused, her movements sharp and deliberate. She knew her role was crucial. If she failed, the rest of the fleet wouldn't stand a chance. Meanwhile, Marcus worked furiously to deploy the energy disruptors. He coordinated with Lyra and the other engineers, ensuring the devices were positioned correctly. Sweat dripped down his face as he monitored the readings, waiting for the perfect moment to activate them. When the signal came, he didn't hesitate. "Firing now!" he shouted. A pulse of energy surged outward, striking the invaders' ships. Their shields faltered, leaving them vulnerable to attack. The human and Arendorian forces seized the opportunity, launching a coordinated assault that shattered the defensive line. Amidst the confusion, Daniel guided a small team toward the central hive structure. Their shuttle cloaked to avoid detection. Inside the structure, the air was thick with tension. Daniel and his team moved cautiously through the corridors, their weapons drawn. Automated defenses attacked them at every turn, forcing them to fight their way deeper into the complex. One by one, members of the team fell, their sacrifices buying precious seconds for the others to advance. Finally, they reached the core chamber, where a massive orb pulsed with dark energy. It was the source of the invaders' hive mind, controlling every aspect of their collective. Daniel activated the device designed to overload the signal, his hands trembling as he worked. Alarms blared, and the walls shook as the orb began to destabilize. "We need to go now!" shouted the Arendorian soldier beside him. Daniel hesitated for a split second, then turned and ran. Behind them, the orb exploded, sending shockwaves throughout the structure. The entire network collapsed, severing the invaders' connection to their ships. Outside, the remaining vessels drifted lifelessly in space, their hulks drifting apart like leaves caught in a breeze. On the bridge of the Endeavor, Ryan watched as the tide of the battle turned decisively in their favor. Cheers erupted across the fleet, but Ryan remained silent, his thoughts heavy with the sacrifices made. When the dust settled, the survivors gathered to honor those who had fallen. Cale approached Ryan, his expression solemn yet grateful. "You have saved us," he said. "And in doing so, you have given us hope for the future." Ryan nodded, knowing the victory was bittersweet. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable, but for now, they had won. And in that triumph, humanity had proven itself worthy of trust and alliance. In the days that followed, the humans and Arendorians worked together to clean up the wreckage and tend to the wounded. Stories of bravery and sacrifice spread among the crews, inspiring a new sense of unity. Bonds formed during the mission grew stronger, transcending species and language. Meals were shared, laughter echoed through the halls, and plans were made. For the future, Ryan stood on the observation deck of the SS Endeavor, gazing out at the stars. Cale joined him, his glowing eyes reflecting the dim light. "What happens now?" Cale asked. Ryan smiled faintly. "We rebuild. We learn and we prepare for whatever comes next." Cale nodded, placing a hand on Ryan's shoulder. "Together, we will face it." As the fleet prepared to depart, Ryan took one last look at Arender. Its crystalline surface shimmered in the light of its dying sun, a symbol of resilience and hope. The journey back to Earth would be long, but Ryan felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger, not alone, but alongside allies who shared their vision of a better future. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but Ryan knew one thing for certain: courage and unity could overcome even the darkest storms. And with that belief, he turned away from the window, ready to lead his crew home.